What's up, guys? So I just finished about 3 hours of very intense focus, optimizing my ICP, optimizing the core focus at my company. And basically, I guess in this video, I'll describe like why I took 3 hours to do that. Because it's all about signal over noise, right? It's all about distinguishing what to focus on versus what not to focus on. And that is the highest lever, it's the highest leverage skill you can work on as an entrepreneur. So, if you're not an entrepreneur, then I suppose this is probably too relevant for you, but signal versus noise as a skill could still be relevant for you. But yeah, ultimately it's like whatever your goal is, you want to make sure that you are aligned to it, right? And so basically why did I spend 3 hours doing that? Well, I woke up this morning, first thing I was like, so firstly, let me give you a bit of a backstory for yesterday, right? So like yesterday, I was needing to identify, I spent like an hour yesterday figuring this out, like how much time allocation. So I have two focuses, okay? And that's a dangerous game to play. That is a dangerous game to play for sure. And let's dive into that. So the reason I took yesterday some time, allocated time towards this, is because I know it's a dangerous game to play. If you are running multiple businesses, you have to be very careful, my friend. You have to be very careful because it's very easy to make it average, right? Ultimately, it's about velocity of time, attention, and resources. And if you're going to be splitting that up, it's very difficult to make it successful, right? So yesterday I thought about it. I was like, okay. So basically, if you don't know, I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Acquirely, where we essentially, we focus on acquisition systems for B2B companies. And we sell enterprise grade systems, right? And we essentially just we build systems that predictably add revenue to companies' pipelines. And so it's more of a complicated thing. And then on my personal brand side, I run a school group, a community, which is called Signal. And ultimately it's teaching people the skill of distinguishing signal over noise, right? And that ultimately helps people scale faster. It helps them be very efficient and everything like that, right? And so ultimately, I was like yesterday when I woke up, I was like thinking about my Signal group first thing in the day. But actually my goal is for Signal to be something that's I'm able to leverage, right? Leverage my expertise, leverage all these things, but absolutely it can't take away from my focus from Acquirely, because my goal with Acquirely is to scale that within the next 24 months to $3 million a month. And then over the next decade, I need to scale that to 250 million a year, right? So like 20 odd million a month. That's the core focus, right? Like for me, that's what's most worth my time, attention, and energy, right? And resources. So, I woke up yesterday thinking first thing about my Signal group, like, where I'm allowing people to join for $25 or $29 a month. Are you kidding? Like just for people to join, to like book me on a call, one-on-one call is $250 an hour. You get 4 calls like that in the group per month, sorry. So 1 call a week. So it's like, why would I be allocating more time than an hour a day towards something that's $29 a month? Like that wouldn't make sense, right? The value is in being in that proximity, and you make way more, right? Than being in the group than not being in the group, right? So the point is, like yesterday I woke up thinking about that, and I realized, and yesterday it wasn't obvious. I had to sit down and think about it. And I was identifying the signal over the noise, and this is really the skill, right? And this is why it's so important, is because if I didn't spend that time, I would be allocating more time and attention toward this group today. Now, ultimately, what I ended up coming to the conclusion of is like, no, my signal is if I'm not putting all of my attention towards scaling acquirely to 3 million a month, then it is noise. And everything other than that is noise, other than the 1 hour a day that I'm allocating towards the Signal group. So for 1 hour a day, I will sit there with my headphones on, answering everybody's questions, responding to people's questions with Loom videos, attending a call with people, like helping them as much as possible to eliminate the noise and focus on their Signal. Great. I'll spend an hour a day doing that, between 5 to 6 a.m. EST. I'll do that every single day, no problem. At least like Monday to Saturday, right? And that's more than enough value for that group. Like anybody who joins, who uses that, should make easily 10 times their money back as long as they don't do nothing, right? I mean, it's just insane value. So the point is like, okay, cool. I allocated the time yesterday to figure that out, right? So that was worth the time. That was Signal, right? It was Signal, like figuring out that answer of like, okay, yes, it's enough value, doing it for an hour. That's Signal. Cool, I spent an hour figuring that out. And then also I spent the hour figuring out the schedule. That was time well spent. It's like, okay, so that I don't waste all of my focus for the next coming 6 months, let's quickly allocate an hour to figure this out. And so my conclusion was between 5 to 6 a.m. EST daily, at least Monday to Saturday, yes, I will allocate towards Signal. Every other waking fucking hour, I'm going to be focused on scaling acquirely. And absolutely under no circumstances when I wake up first thing in the day, am I going to be thinking about anything else, right? I'm not thinking about my relationship with my spouse. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to eat for the day. All of that is noise, okay? I'm thinking about scaling my company, my main company, to 3 million a month, and that's it, right? And then when it's at 3 million a month, I'm thinking about scaling it to 10 million a month and nothing else, right? That is Signal. Now, obviously, depending on what your circumstances are, you want to adjust your Signal. So if your goals and priorities change, then your Signal will change and you need to allocate most of your time and attention to your Signal. I'm not saying for someone who's already got a $1 million a year business or whatever, if your goal is not to have massively bigger things, then like no problem. Then you have a different Signal, right? But absolutely, you want to be avoiding those death by 1,000 cut, time-wasting activities and time-wasting intervals, right? Where you're spending 30 minutes, an hour, accepting yourself, from allowing yourself to get distracted. Like, dude, you should know what the fuck the focus is first thing in the day. And so the Signal in this case is simplifying the schedule. That's what I did yesterday. I was like, no, I don't need, like, this needs to be simpler. There's one core focus. Everything else is secondary. So for me, it's acquirely is my core focus. I spend 90% of my time allocation, 95% there. And most importantly, not time, right? You have 3 core resources. You have time, money, and attention, right? Attention is more rare. Okay, so at the bottom is money, right? It's the least rare between those 3. But still in the top 3 priorities. So you have money at the bottom, then you have the second highest value resource, which is time. And something that's more rare than time is attention, right? Because you only really get about 4 solid hours a day of attention, right? Which will translate to like 1/6. So attention is realistically then 6 times more valuable than time, right? If you only get 4 hours of solid attention every 24 hours, it's 6 times more valuable. So those are your top 3 resources, and the skill of Signal over noise is the ability to allocate those 3 resources accordingly, right? And that is the skill of strategy. And that's why it's such a difficult skill. It is very difficult. And this is why so few people on the planet can master it. And that is where you have outsized returns, is when you can master a skill that hardly anyone can master, right? It's because it's difficult. It takes 100,000 hours to master the skill. And so it's a skill that I've devoted the next 100,000 hours of my life to mastering. Probably allocating an hour a day for the next 100,000 hours. Oh, that wouldn't really make sense. No, I mean, I realistically, I allocate like 3 or 4 hours a day. I don't know what the math would equate to, but whatever, right? Because like your job as a CEO is strategy, right? You are a strategic decision maker for your business. Number one, and then number two, you are keeping the business accountable, right? Those two things. That's the only job you have as CEO. That is the CEO's responsibilities, right? It's strategy, right? How do we allocate our limited resources? And then it's accountability, making sure that the company actually gets there. That's it, right? And the company is a congregation of team members and infrastructures, right? And intellectual property, if you want to call it that. So this is the number one skill for any CEO, right? Because it's strategy. It's allocating limited resources and knowing which one is most powerful and which one is least powerful, and then keeping accountable to everything that's not noise, right? So yeah, I'm just giving a real personal example of how I allocated my time and attention yesterday, and really giving you real life examples of how I'm implementing Signal in my life and how this realistically works for a founder / CEO. Like, this is what it looks like. So yeah, hopefully that all makes sense. By the way, guys, if you need one-on-one help with this, then try Signal. It's down below, 7 days free. This is where I don't see any place on the planet where people are actually helping with this, number one. And number two is where people are actually focused on building the skill, right? I hardly ever see someone do this. Other than like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, not many people are really heavily focused and devoting themselves to actually figuring this skill out and mastering it. There's nuances to it. So yeah, again, like if you need help one-on-one figuring this out, then you can join my group down below. It's difficult not to make 10 times your money back if you just don't do nothing. And if you do nothing, then like feel free to do nothing, but like just expect, don't expect much from that. But yeah, if you just like actually utilize the mechanisms in the group, it's going to be very difficult to not absolutely scale faster and absolutely just progress so much faster, right? But yeah, hopefully this helps. This is the craziest skill. It's so fun. And ultimately that's the game of business, right? It's allocation of limited resources and utilizing the power between signal and noise, and strategizing accordingly. So yeah, have a great day, and I'll see you guys in another video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions, leave it in a comment below. See you in the next video.